All right, how's it going? Um, yeah, I want to take a little break from like the projects I'm working on and instead just try to force myself to make sure I learn more about stuff in the app router in Next. I'm sure there's stuff that I haven't even read in the documentation. And then also, what's it called? Shadcn UI or something. I wanted to kind of pull this in and use it a little bit. People have been talking about it and they say it's really nice. So let's just get started with building out a really, like the most simple Next.js application. Um, just call it learning stuff. How about that? What is up, Volin Ha? What's up, Brian? What's up, Coding and Flow? How you doing? Prothamish? How's it going? Oh, I need to, let me post on Twitter that I'm going live. All right, was there anything in particular you guys want to talk about? Or things that you recommend I just like learn more about? The first thing I wanted to do is like, see, I have not started development as much, so what would be your advice? I have interviews in 3 months. Yeah, I mean, you just have to practice coding. It's hard to pass the interview if you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you're going to talk about unless you've actually had experience trying to code stuff. Kind of exhausted of coding right now, but watching is relaxing. Cool. I wanted to kind of get some music in the background, but you get a lot of copyright strikes on YouTube if you have music. On Twitch, I think you're able to like stream in audio that they don't check. But anyway, it's not that important. I don't think I'm going to be doing the course platform in this video. Maybe I should just work on it. I don't want to learn about this a little bit more. Okay, let me ask. So I could do 3 things on the stream, and I don't know if I'm going to stream for longer, like an hour or so. I could work on the course platform project, which is what I've done on other streams. I could try to learn more about the app directory and maybe a new UI library. Or I could refactor some code for my icon generator. Type a comment if there's any of those that sound interesting, or I could just sit here and chat with you all for a little bit if you want. Doesn't matter. Thank you for the follow, Spanky. 000. Oh, plug the Twitch. Yeah, let me give you the Twitch link. Second option. I don't remember what the second option was, even though I just said it to you all. Okay, yeah, I'll do the app router. Seems like a lot of people are saying app router. Spanky says, do I work full-time anywhere? Yeah, I work full-time. As a, I guess you could say a full-stack developer. I do a lot of DevOps stuff as well. So I got the project running over here. I'm doing like the initial setup. So let's just go ahead and say yes to TypeScript, ESLint, yes, Tailwind, yes, sources, app router. Okay, there we go. By the way, that Twitch stream link I sent, you guys don't have to watch me on Twitch, but if you just go and give me a follow there, it kind of helps my follower count go up, which is good for something. I might at one point start doing like separate streams, so like do a YouTube stream and then do a Twitch stream, but I don't know. I think Twitch has a better streaming experience than YouTube. Daria says migrate icon generator to Next. That'd be a lot of work. YouTube title should be Shadcn UI. Okay, let me fix that real quick. Thank you for the follow, everyone. SEU James, do you always start with mono or microservices architecture? I mean, I guess it depends on if you're working on a huge enterprise and they already have microservices set up, then you probably want to stick to microservices. But on a small like team or small project, I would always start with the monolithic. It's just easier to manage in my opinion. There's less moving parts. And even Next is a good starting point, or like Nuxt, because everything is self-contained and like deployable with a single thing. When you start having a separate API and a separate front end, it just adds more moving parts to your system, right? You have two different deployments that are happening. You have to orchestrate those deployments. You can't deploy the API that has a breaking change before the UI. It's just a lot of extra stuff. So your small scale, definitely just Next or Nuxt or some type of all-inclusive framework, I would say. Okay, what are we doing? What is this project called? I called it like learning stuff. Reopen that up. All right, so let's make sure this runs. npm run dev. Of course, it opens up in a different tab. Okay, we got it running. Let's read through the documentations for this library. I haven't really taken time to understand what this is, but they say this is not a component library. It's basically like a way to grab and like a la carte different things and put it into your projects, which I kind of like. Like there's headless UI and stuff like that that like has examples and functionality. You just copy them into your project. So I think this is just like taking the best pieces of everywhere. Let's read through this. Okay, so once you have a Next project created, you can just run this. This will install dependencies, set up Tailwind CSS, and configure Shadcn utils for you. Okay, let's just try that out. I already have Tailwind, so I wonder if that's just going to skip over or that's going to break something. Ooh, thanks for the follow. Berkla? Okay, running this command will install. Yeah, sure. All right, we made some changes. Now, I'm paranoid, so whenever I change anything, I'm just going to refresh my project and like make sure it still works. Okay, definitely not looking as good, but maybe that's intentional. Let's go over here and let's see, manual installation. Oh, I already did the installation, so we should be good, right? Did it add all these styles too? Yeah, it added all those. Okay. So it does a bunch of stuff for you to like get everything set up with Tailwind and your Tailwind configuration and stuff. Probably want to learn more about this. But let's just see if we can like get something basic. Like how about an alert? That's like the most basic thing, right? Can we get an alert showing up? So to install it, they say you can just run this command. Okay, they give you different npm yarn pnpm commands. Let's run this. Now, what does this actually do? I'm assuming, okay, it's grabbing. Would you like to install your components UI? Sure. Well, technically, I wanted to put it in the source directory, so I probably should have said source directory. If I do it again, what happens? Where would you like to install the components? It's asked me where I want to install the components, but I don't have, like, how do you change this? Okay, there you go. I wonder if I can configure this. If I do it again, does it actually change? Okay, that's kind of annoying. There might be a way to like overwrite that default installation path. I place my UI components in the component/UI directory. I'm getting sidetracked. This is really not that big of a deal, but it's kind of annoying. Let me check chat. I'm sure someone had uses this before. Usually deploying Next apps on Vercel or GitHub Pages. You want to use probably Vercel or some type of thing that actually has API capabilities. If you deploy to GitHub Pages, like none of your APIs are going to run. What's up, Kill by Fire? How's it going? Is it worth learning web dev? Yeah. I mean, I personally have never used a no-code tool, so I don't know of anyone who uses no-code tools. You end up having to touch the code. I don't think we're there yet. You think TRPC will be replaced by server actions? In a sense, I don't know if TRPC will be as useful when you have server actions that do it, if that's the approach you're going to take. Have you used tab 9? I have not. Do you always stick to Node? Yes. I just like being able to write JavaScript on both the front end and the back end. What microphone am I using? It's the MXL 990. There's too many questions. Let's see, last time, blah, blah, blah. It's because you select the source directory, better to not use that when using Shadcn. Does Shadcn support system dark mode theming? I don't know. I haven't really used it. Remember, this stream is called Learning Stuff. So I don't... like, you just go here and type in dark mode. But they probably do, right? It's Tailwind. So, like, if I were to go and change my theming, let's just show you that. Let's just go to my preferences. Let's go to light mode. Hopefully I don't blow up, blind you all. I guess it was light mode before, right? All right, anyway, let's just continue on. So I brought in the alert. I installed it like 5 minutes ago and we got distracted. Usage, grab this. Let's go to the app directory page and let's delete all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff. There we go. All right, delete that, bring in the alerts. Here is an example of how you can use the alerts. What's terminal? So I will say I'm not a fan how I have to bring in Lucid React to do their example, and they don't state that anywhere, right? I would expect there should be like a prerequisite or on the installation step, they would have said I have to bring in what is all this stuff? You know, maybe it already brought it in. I just am dumb. It might have already installed it when I did a Shadcn UI install. I just needed to import it. So ignore me. Let's just see if this works. Let's go to our page. This looks like an alert. I'm not sure why this isn't styled. I would think the whole page would have been styled to kind of look like this. So let's try just adding like on the main, I'll just say container mx auto. I'm not sure why this is full width here. Isn't container supposed to keep it like contained? Even changing the width of the container is not doing anything. Okay, let's just, maybe there's something I'm missing in the setup steps. We got an alert showing up. Let's just try a couple more to make sure these things show up. And I'll just copy card prop, card demo, card footer. Let's just grab the card here. Okay, we'll have to import everything. Applications, where are those coming from? Wait a second. Okay, let me, okay, so I need to actually do the install. Like, what am I doing? So let's go over here. I'm going to add the card as well, just so I can kind of do this properly. I kind of wish they put the installation at the top. Just complaining at this point. Let's click on, let's do this. Okay, we got a card. And we should be able to hopefully just do the usage. Got a card. Isn't this fun? Watching me just copy paste code. All right. Yeah, so I mean, I think something's messed up here. Why does this not look like it should? Let me go back to the setup. Thank you for the follow. Ooh, 000. That one's not okay. Is that why? Okay, that looks better. Let me go to the chat. Oh, I need to change my Twitch title. Yeah, I'm taking a little, I'm going to go back to the course platform. I just wanted to take a little break from that and just kind of learn a little bit more about the app directory and stuff. A lot of people said that they kind of want me to start doing app directory stuff on my channel. So I'm just taking some time to learn about it. And then people also talk well about this component library. So I wanted to learn about it. Give me a second though. Bro, how do you change your Twitter or your Twitch name? Edit your stream info? Okay, here it is. Shadcn. All right. Anyway, yeah, I think that fixed it. I just needed to put the source directories here. So yeah, I guess this library doesn't really play well with when you do the next setup and you choose a source directory. You just have to make sure you come in and you kind of add some prefixes to stuff. But let's go back to the chat real quick because I think there's some stuff. My VS Code is bearded theme, and my icon is bearded theme icons, or bearded icons or something. So what you guys are all saying is that I need to actually read the docs. Thank you, thank you. All right, how do I make this dark mode? I'm guessing it's I just have to manually do that, right? Like this thing needs to be like BG. Dark could be BG gray 800. Of course, that doesn't work. Let's go to the CSS file. I'm guessing BG background, text foreground, body, BG background. Where's that defined? Find the tailwind config. Not. Dark mode is by class. Can I change this to system? I think you just don't set it, right? Yeah, that's how you do it. Okay, let's see. How does this work? Apply background color of BG color, HSL background. So this must be a variable here. Dark. Okay, so this is kind of, I think, hard-coded to do not. Okay, yeah. So let's go back. Let's just read through this. I think I'm skipping too much stuff. How do you do dark mode? I'm guessing you just put the dark class on something. Inside a layout, let's just say HTML class name is dark. Let's see if that does what we want. There we go. Okay, so I'm learning. Don't judge me too hard, y'all. Looks good. Got the dark mode going. And now if I go back, if you wanted to change this like to not be, you know what, let me just stop talking. What other things can we try here? Date picker. You know, I'm not a fan of like the style. It's just everything's so monochromatic. I'm just not a fan of it. I mean, I know it's Tailwind, so you can kind of like customize it as you want, but destructive. Let's see what this is. Alert destructive. How do you change it? You just put variant of destructive. But where does the destructive thing come from? Is that already built into Tailwind? It is. Okay, so these are some default colors you have. Primary, secondary, destructive, muted, accent, pop over card. So if I wanted to make this alert, There's already 2 options here. Cool. My question is, are there not like more options? How do I add another one? Let's say I wanted a green alert or something. So I probably have to go to like the tailwind config. I wonder if I can just put Is there a plugin for like previewing these colors? Like what colors are these? I'm guessing this HSL, right? Or HSL variable. Let's see if there's a variable HSL CSS. When you hover over the color, let's try this out. Not doing anything. The plugin is Colorize. Dark is already defined. You just need to use Next themes. All right, I'm going to put that on a list. Next themes. More stuff we can learn. That'll probably take care of like toggling the dark mode for us. Try something else. Then alert, pop over something, go to components and add the new variant to add some new options. You don't really need to mess with tailwind config. The plugin is Colorize, install Colorize. All right, let's install Colorize. Uninstall this one. I don't know why this one didn't do anything. I thought, like, what did I just do? Highlight colors in current file. I wonder if that's it. So I just wanted to go to my global CSS, highlight colors. Yeah, I guess I gotta read through the documentation. You know, you turn an extension on, you expect it to do something, but is it because they don't wrap it with HSL? Is that why it's not highlighting? Like, do I actually need to say HSL and like wrap this whole thing? You should hover. I guess the colors are not being declared as colors. You should hover over HSL. Hover over where the var is used. I think you need to wrap it in HSL. The variants are defined inside the alert component. Okay, so let's. People are saying I need to go to where it's used. So if I hover over this, I mean, this is just a string, so I don't know if the extension is going to be smart enough to interpolate a string. So I think, unfortunately, I think I would have to do this. Let me try to find destructive. So then what I can do is, if this thing still works, let's see. I kind of wondered, like, since it's already wrapped as HSL, you don't need to do an HSL here again. I guess you do. Okay. Interesting. Well, at least I got an extension. I can figure out what the colors are by just adding HSL to it. So the other thing I wanted to look at is people are saying go to components, go to the card, or you can go to the alert. And then we could just add a new variant if you want to. So all the code is just basically right there in the project, so you can modify it however you want. So if I look for the word variant, take a CVA, class variant authority. I feel like I brought in one library, but now I'm bringing in like 7 other libraries. This is not sure how I feel about this, but I could add one for like success, BG, background. What is this stuff doing? So I need to have like a text success or something like that. Let's go back to my style sheet here. Are any of these like green? Probably not. So, I mean, let's just copy this one and say success. Now, I don't know HSL, so luckily I got this colorize plugin. I could just go here. Yeah, let's just make it lime green. How about that? And we're going to go and change text success, text foreground, text destructive. Am I doing this right? Doesn't seem right. Destructive, destructive. Text destructive. I doubt I'm doing that right. Anyway, let's go to the alert. Oh, we're at the alert. Okay. Variant is defaulted to that. Now I'm guessing we have to go to tailwind config, and then we have to add one for like success. Okay, it's all clicking on my head now. We define some variables using CSS variables, and then we load those in the tailwind so we can use them as success-foreground or success-destructive, and then can just do, I think that. And then if I go to the page, go to the page, we will say success, and it didn't work. No need to add or touch. Just text. It's just text success. Okay. That's foreground. That's foreground. Or someone in the chat over here has said something. I don't want to just do text green 400. I'm trying to follow the conventions that the component library is giving us and not just hack on colors onto everything. Remove HSL from CSS variables. Okay. Fine. Okay, this is too slow. What am I doing? Sometimes I do stuff and I'm like, wait, I know a better way to do this. Ah, okay. So can't preview those, which kind of sucks, but whatever. All right, did I break the other ones in? If I go back to my page and go to destructive, is this still good? Okay. I go to success. Why is this one so much more messed up? Like this is literally the same convention. I copied and pasted this and just replaced destructive with success. Unless success is like a special thing that's already imported somewhere. I don't think it is. So what am I doing wrong? And if you go over here, oh, it's because I'm using BG success. I don't want that. I just want like border success. That's probably what's going on. There we go. Cool. I think it's making sense. I'm a little slow, if you guys haven't noticed, but it's fine. You should see the colors on your tailwind IntelliSense. Yeah, I should be able to. If I go to like, where's my page? Here, I should be able to say like BG hyphen and I can say success. Oh, they don't show up there either. Isn't that great? What a heaping pile. Okay. You want to create custom themes that are based on Tailwind? I recommend taking Daisy UI. Yeah, I've used Daisy UI in the past. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Someone asked, have I used server actions yet? I have played around with them. I think that was floating in code asked that. I don't know if he's still here, but I have played around with them. Maybe we'll learn that a little bit on stream. How are you finding the Aptor and Shadcn UI so far? I mean, if you want me to judge after like a 20-minute session, I mean, it seems like they have nice components. I do like how, I will say the one thing I like most about this is that all the component code is placed directly into your repo. So you have the flexibility of coming in here and modifying this however you want, assuming you actually understand how to read TypeScript, because like if you don't, this is going to look like an alien language to you. Like what the hell is this stuff? So, but it gives you the flexibility. You can come in here and change however you want. I'm not a fan of how like it seems like it's just a collection of a bunch of random libraries that are like hacked together or put together. Like CVA, this was pulled in, which means there's probably another like npm install that happened behind the scenes that we're not aware about. So adding a single component brings in like a ton of different libraries that you may not even know. But that's the state of Node anyway, so I'm not sure why I'm complaining about that. The variants, I mean, it seems like it's a lot of manual work to like add all this stuff in. Like the fact that the alert only had 2 variants by default, and I have to come in here manually like add more. Not a fan of that. I think using a component library and not, what do they call this thing? They said this is not a component library, this is something else. A collection of reusable components. So if you're the type of person who likes to get down and like do the manual stuff and configuring all the stuff because you really want to like customize it, then I think this is a good choice. Use this as a reference to build your own component libraries, right? So this is much more lower level than using Maintine or using, what's the other one? Chakra, using the Google one that everyone talks about that I can't remember the name of. Material UI. This is like the lower level stuff. So it's like a step above Tailwind because it gives you like all the stuff out of the box that you can use. Like I'm guessing like a drop down. Let's look at the drop down menu real quick. Let's add it. So by doing npm install, it brings in a bunch of various packages. In fact, let me commit git init. Just doing stuff. Let me just commit this stuff so we can see what changes when we run this command, and we'll see that it's going to install things. What things does it install? I don't know, but we'll find out. Source components. If anyone could tell me if there's a way to default this thing that pops up. They seem like they're really adamant about you not using the source directory. And I would like if I could I typed in the wrong thing. Let me run it again. Components. You might just say, why don't you just use the way it's meant to be used? Because I'm a rebel. I want to do that. Okay, so running that command brought in this. Pretty cool. I guess it changed something here. Although I'm not sure why it would have changed any of this. Layer base body. Wait, what is all this stuff? I thought I committed that. Okay, yeah, that's not even there. Package JSON. So it just brought in Radix UI, which is cool. Now, can we use this? Let's go to the page. Let's add a drop down. Drop down menu from components. Let's do that. Does this thing have any props that are needed? As children, modal, open. Okay. We probably want to actually just bring in the examples, so I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's just copy everything in, and then let's go to the drop-down menu, use that. Previous definition, okay. Yeah, I imported it twice because I'm dumb, so let's delete that. It's opening. Now theirs has like a white background and a hover state. Why does mine not have that? Because the child you pass to the trigger is just a plain text instead of open add a button. Oh. Okay, so I was grabbing the example from something else. So you're saying like the trigger. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Cool, so we don't have a button, right? So we're gonna have to go and add in a button. Let me make sure I do this correctly. Let's look at the example of a button. Okay, looks like that. You add it like this. You run this. That'll put the button in my component UI folder. I can auto import this button. Is my string laggy, by the way? My computer's starting to slow down a little bit. Don't know if it can't handle the overheating. Yeah, this looks good. Has a variant outline on the button or prop. Thank you for the follow, Kill by Fire. Buttons are also used the same approach using CVA. You can define most variants. Cool. You know, one thing I wanted to check is if you don't have this in a container, and I push this all the way to the far right, which I forget how to do. It's just like self-align. Is that how you do it? Self-end? Okay, maybe you have to add it to the button. Yo, what's the thing to like? I think I have to get this flex, don't I? Let's just give this whole thing flex column real quick and see what happens. I don't think that's gonna fix it either. Did not justify end. Okay, what am I trying to do? I got a button here. I want to push it all the way to the right. This is a button inside of a button. I mean, that's not good. Why is this whole thing a button? Trigger. Drop down menu primitive trigger. Wait, if I don't put a button on here, what happens? So like the trigger already wraps something in a button, and having a button inside of a button is probably not proper. So what I could do is just try to figure out, go back to the other class. Actually, does this thing have an as? You know what I mean? So like we can just pass it the button prop. Forward ref exotic component. Drop down menu HTML button. And let me just try as child and see what this does. Okay, so you might be watching and asking, what am I doing? I can't tell you. I don't know what I'm doing. Just as child? That's what I tried though. As child. Do I have to like give it an actual like button like this? Doesn't like that. Element is not a type of boolean. Oh, it's a boolean. Is that what I need to do? What happened to my app? Who broke my app? Oh, there it is. Well, I mean, this is a button, but it's not the not the one we're looking at. Items in, always use the latest. Margin left, auto, no. As child is a boolean. Already a button. If you want to pass it to your button, then add as child. Okay, but what am I doing wrong here? Like, why is this button not styled? Because I didn't give it a variant? Like, do I need to give it a default? Hard to do. Okay, so from their example, okay, well, duh, this is the example here. Man, I need more coffee. Outline. Why do you guys watch me? I just like stumble around this whole time. Okay. And now my computer takes like 10 seconds to freaking refresh my page because bring me on the Mac Air M1, not the best. All right, I think it's kind of making sense in my head now. We got a button, you click it. You can style it by saying as child. What was I gonna do originally? Oh, I'm trying to like make this button a certain size. Which, does this thing take anything? No. So does this thing, can I style it right here and just say give it a width of like 12 or 24? Let's see if 24 is an option. Yep. That should make the button small. Awesome. And then I wanted to push that all the way to the right. Items end. Is that how you do it? And then I was in the process of like, well, let's look at this real quick. Justify flex column, justify end. Let's get rid of justify end real quick. And I'm going to say self end. Let me see if this is it. I knew it was self end. Okay. Okay. The whole reason I wanted to check this is because like on my own app, I have like a drop down, and when you click it, it shifts the entire page over. So this is probably nice. Like, let me show you real quick. Let's go here. No, let's go to collection. This is my own app, and the drop down is something I kind of hacked together myself, which I probably should actually bring in. See that? Shifts the entire page over versus this. It knows how to move this layout to not like mess up the shifting. So pretty nice. I need to actually refactor my own little project to use that probably. Okay, we're an hour in. Have you guys learned something about Shadcn UI. That issue actually exists on the repo. It happens sometimes. Oh, okay. I guess it's a hard problem to solve, you know? It's missing woo. I'm sorry, what is WEW? What is woo? Add woo button. By the way, I am trying to grow Twitch just a little bit. So here's my Twitch link. You guys are welcome to go and watch me fumble around on Twitch too if you want. For what I've noticed, Twitch is a little bit better streaming experience, but I mean, this looks pretty good, right? Let's talk about server actions a little bit. Like, I want to play around with that. I do think it's an experimental feature, so you have to go in here to your, not your Tailwind, to your Next config. I think you got to turn it on, right? Like experimental, and then you say it's one of these. Maybe it's just called server actions. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, they have a lot of experimental things. That's crazy. I didn't know they had that many experiments going on. Okay, so when you turn that on, you have access to basically create a form. And let's see if this component library has a form or some type of inputs at least. Does it? Has inputs. That's good. Let us, let's just grab this email thing. So let's add an input. Hey, thank you for the follow. Zach Lilu. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but again, thank you for another follow. Kendrick Codes. Kendrick Codes. Sounds familiar. Retrovert, thank you. Okay, so I added in the input, and what I wanted to do is on my page, go down here. I'm gonna make a form. This, I'm gonna grab an input, which should be capital I now, I think. And I'm guessing it takes in all the normal properties that an input would take, right? Type, placeholder, email. Cool. Now somewhere on the page, I should have an input show up, I would think. Well, I'm gonna do a hard refresh. I don't know where my input is. What version of Next.js do you use? I'm using the latest, so I think it's like 13.4.4. I mean, I could check for you. Yeah, 13.4.4. Right here. Yeah, my computer is struggling. Hold to refresh. Here it is. There's the input. Now, one thing I noticed about the app router, I don't know if it's just because my computer's slow at the moment. Sometimes I make changes in my app, I save the file, and it just does not update in my UI. I don't know if that's a feature, or if that's a bug. Shadcn got React hook form, I think, although I'm not sure how it works with server actions. I've not tried it yet. Version of Next.js. I would update installation process to have options to get all the components or select what components need. Yes, I have a couple of performance issues with app directory. Yeah, I think it would be nice if this library basically just had like, just give me everything, because you end up just needing this stuff anyway, and like the amount of work you end up doing just to go and add them all individually, it's kind of a pain. Like, just give me the option to install it all. Maybe there is. Technically, you could just write one command that installs everything, right? So if they just had like an example that says, hey, you just want to download everything, here's a one command, you run it, and you'll be good. Gotta get some back support. What's up? Motivation maxed out. Welcome to your first stream experience. Hope it's everything you dreamed of. Let's add all components. That'd be a lot of components. Can we paste links here? No, you can't paste links on YouTube. It doesn't let you. All right, I mean, we got a good feeling for Shadcn UI. Now let's look at this one, forms. Forms are tricky, blah, blah, blah. We structured it semantically correct, easy to use, navigate keyboard. This guy will take a look building forms with this and Zod. We're going to be using form field. The form component is a wrapper around React hook form library. Okay. Let's do it. We're going to try bring this in, and we're also going to try to integrate it with server actions, if that's even a thing. I'm guessing it should be a thing. Not sure why you wouldn't be able to do it. So let's just install these goodies. Copy and paste the form component to your app. Kind of curious why they don't give you one command to do this. Like, why is this a separate process? Why do I have to manually do this? Making me do work here. Form TSX. Paste this all in. Okay. Create the form schema. Okay. Now they do have a use client here, so I do wonder if this has to be in a client component. Which it's fine because I think you can actually pass server actions down in the client components. You just have to make sure that the pass says props and not imported. So let's just try doing that. I'm going to make a new file called sform tsx. We are going to export function test form. We're going to return something. We need a Zod resolver. Okay. We need to bring in file form. No, let's just follow the example exactly, because when you start doing your own thing, start making mistakes. What do we call this thing? I already forgot. It was called a profile form. Build your form. All right, let's make sure we import use form. Okay. Username, form control, form description. I don't know what half this stuff is. Let's make sure it works. So this one hopefully should be good. The page, actually, yeah, we got use client here. The page, let's go here. We're going to call this profile form. You know, a standard way of working JavaScript file paths when web apps after building for production, I get CORS errors because it doesn't look like it doesn't look for in the right directory. That's a kind of a hard question. Like, it really depends on your setup. This is why I like using Next.js. You don't have to worry about that stuff. You probably just need to change like the base URL of your index file or something so it knows what to look for. I have 8 gigabytes DDR4 RAM. Is that enough for Docker? Maybe for running a couple of containers. I would definitely recommend like at least 16 gigabytes. But also just try it. I mean, like, your computer might be able to handle it, right? All right, anyway, we got a form here. And we want to check if it's working. So let's go here. Now find a label. I guess we need to bring in a label, which is another thing we have to do. It's kind of annoying. All right, we brought in the label. There's no errors in this one anymore. Okay, we might be good. This thing is struggling, man. There we go. All right, we got a form with come on. There must be like a queue behind the scenes of every time I save a file, it's just like pushing on events into a queue, and Next is like, I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna refresh again. Because I'm pretty sure if I just refresh this right now, it would probably work fine. No, there's actually a bug. Layout router. What's wrong with my code then? There was an error while hydrating because the error happened outside a suspense boundary. The entire route will switch to client rendering. Okay. That's cool. So profile form. Speaking of which, why is this not? I guess you can do that. This thing should have been a use client component. It is. You know, when in doubt, whenever I get weird errors like that, I just kill it all. Why is colorized red down here? Trigger says, can you make a directory building guide? Honestly, I don't know if there's any standards. People in this industry literally just do whatever they want. Like, you'll go from one project to another project, everything's just completely different. So I don't think you can really have like a standard of how to put files in directories. There's really two main approaches. You put the files that are related to the thing in the same directory, which is kind of the approach I like to take. For example, this profile form, if it's only used in this page, then you should probably have these files live close to each other. If this is not, if this is used in like multiple pages, it's more of a shared component and you want to pull it out and put it in like a shared components folder. If there's a service or a library you're using, or like a hook that's only ever used on one page, you want to have it co-located as close as possible. It just makes it easier, in my opinion, to like quickly find it. And luckily the app directory kind of lets you do that. Like if this was in a, let's say a new directory called dashboard or something, I could put everything that's related to the dashboard in the dashboard folder, and that should be fine. Yeah. Okay, now it's loading. You know, sometimes a good old server restart fixes everything. All right, let's do a testing, and I'll click submit, and it prints out the form. That's good, right? Making some progress. So the whole point of this was to do server actions. And I want to see if I can get this going. So for server actions, I believe you can literally just make a function called like my action. You can do a console log here, say hello world. And you can call this action from your front end. Now, I could be wrong. I think the docs in Next.js say if you wanted to use a server action from a client component, it actually needs to be passed in. So I'll say like my action is equal to my action like this. And then I can go to the form. I can add in a prop. I'll just say this does nothing. I'll just do a function that's void. And I think you can call it programmatically somehow. I think I might just be able to call it. Guess we'll find out, right? Now, if I run this, if I submit this form and this action runs, you should see a console log in the back end that says, what does this say? Hello world. Okay. So let's refresh this page. Let's see if it even loads first of all. Okay, I know there's a way to do this. Like get to like use like a use transition or something. Server actions. Where's that documented? It is. Okay, so you define your action. Oh, you have to have use server in it? Is that what it is? I also don't know if you have to put it inside. Like, can you just have it here, or do you have to put it inside of component? I think you can keep it outside of the component. Server actions must be async. Okay, so let's make this async as well. Okay, this error, I have seen this warning a lot. I don't know what this is. I've seen this in other projects as well that weren't using server actions. Oh, cool. Thanks for that link for installing everything. That would be pretty cool to check out. Is that something you just found, or make that? All right, let's go ahead and type in like some message here. Click submit. And notice that hello world prints out on the back end, right? So that's how you can basically invoke code using server actions from client components. And so what we could potentially do is we could pass in the values here. We already get that like type safety because this is a pass in server action, which technically this should take in like a username. This probably a better way to type this, but this works. And then over here, this could take in a username. Not a fan of this though. Is there a way to like get the type? Like, could I just say export type my action equals type of my action. And then I could import this thing over here. This is going to be a server action. This auto import somehow? Did not. So now I don't know how feasible this is. You're importing a type that was defined in the server. Sounds like it could be potentially risky. But I mean, if Next doesn't complain to us, I guess we'll be good. Let's click on submit. There. So now we don't have to like waste the time typing this stuff. What is up? Click it. Call some code on the back end. That backend code prints out here. In fact, let's actually print out username. Backend received that. I think it's still compiling. What is up? Cool. Kenrick Code says also nice to create an actions TS file and export the impl and types from there. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So we could just do actions, and then we have like a designated location that stores all of our server actions. So we could take this stuff out and put it inside the actions file. And we just need to make sure we export this action. Now, the only issue with doing that is I still don't think you can just import the action. Let me try it, but I don't think you can do that. I think it has to be passed in. So I would have to import it here and then pass it in as a prop to the use client component. And then I could potentially just import the action from actions. Now this should still work. Cool. Does that make sense to you all? This guy, you're still talking about the woo button, huh? Next.js making backend calls so easy. Will it not increase vulnerabilities of backend in any way? I mean, it could. If they, as the framework maintainers, screw something up and they leak a bunch of keys on accident, like you're basically putting a lot more trust in the framework at this point, because you're trusting that whatever happens under the hood when you call your server rendered page and when they set up the action, that they don't leak anything. But I don't think they do, because I think when you define an action like this, what you're actually doing is you're passing in like an ID to the front end, so that when the front end makes a submit, it's actually just invoking, it's like sending a request to your Next server with an ID saying, I need you to invoke action 123. And it also sends over some parameters, right? So it's going to pass over values. And you can actually see that if you go to the network tab. I think I made a video on this prior. If you click on submit, you'll see that it's doing a request, a post request, to the same route that your server action lives on. And it's sending over a payload of your username. Now, I do believe it's supposed to send over like an ID somewhere. I'd be wrong about that, though. Actually, I want to make sure this isn't just doing a form submit, because that would be kind of embarrassing if this is just submitting the form. I think React hook forms will prevent the page from submitting, right? Could be wrong about that. Actually, if you look at here, the initiator, let's look at here. The initiator comes from server actions reducer. So yeah, somehow behind the scenes, React knows, hey, like, I need you to submit some code. I'm not sure how it figures out, like, what action you're trying to invoke, because you could have, is it next action? Request headers. I think this might be it. So it's sending like a unique ID to your backend, and your backend saying, oh, okay, I have this ID. I'm going to go and look at my code and figure out what action I need to invoke, because you could have different actions, right? I'm just speculating. Yeah, I think this works differently than it did in the video I made like a month ago. Because before it used to have like, when you did the payload, it used to have like random IDs and stuff in here. Now it doesn't seem to have that. But then again, I had the server action not defined in a separate file. I don't know. But yeah, it's nice. It actually makes coding really a lot more, what's the word? I want to say efficient. It makes it easier to do, in my opinion, because you could just have your front end forms, callback, and actions. I think Remix has supported this for months now. Like Remix has been doing this from the get-go. I think Next actually just is now looking into it, which is why it's still an experimental flag. But I think some cool things you can do with it, which I wanted to experiment with, is when the action fires, I think you can tell it to like revalidate the page, which I don't remember how to do that. Is it just like something revalidate path? Now I wish there's a way to say revalidate like the thing I'm on right now. Is it tag? You know, let's just go Google this. Let's not pretend like we know what we're doing. Let's go and look up how revalidate path works. So like you can tell it to revalidate a certain path. I don't know what the tag does though. Revalidate tag. Server actions can be used to revalidate data on demand by path or by cache tag. I mean, what is blog posts? Where would you define that tag, you know? Convenient, yeah, that's the word. It makes coding more convenient. But it can also potentially make your project maintenance a nightmare in some situations if you're not careful, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to do here. I think what we could potentially try doing, I think if I just put like some names here, I'll just say Bob. And then from the server rendered action, like if I just wanted to map over the names and we'll just make a div here, put like name. Please go the key here. All right, when this page loads, it should print out Bob to the screen somewhere. All right, we got Bob up here. But what we can do is, I think potentially we could actually import that names. Depending on how Next works, this might not work. We can push the usernames into that array. And then we could just tell Next, revalidate the path. And what the front end does is it basically refetches the data, and it does like a diff between your React UI state and the data that was recomputed from your backend. And I think it'll just like append in the new name here. Yeah. So if I were to type in like Sally and press submit, notice that you get back Sally here. And you can see in the payload that comes back, you get like, it basically recomputes like all of your React page, and somehow React is smart enough to do the diff between the new page that came in and the current page that you're viewing. And it sees that like, okay, Sally was added. So you don't actually notice that the page like refreshes at all because it's just like being very specific and updating components, which is pretty cool. So that's first full circle. You do a submit, the backend does something. In this case, I'm storing some data into an array. I'm telling Next to revalidate this path. Next refreshes that data and just shows it. How to learn Next.js fast as possible. I mean, I don't know what your approach to learning is. I just like starting. I usually do the quick start guides and I just start playing around with the code and building something. Just building something is the best way to learn. But you can also watch a course. Watching courses and tutorials are kind of useful. Like, I'll find like a 4 or 5, 6 hour course and I'll watch it on like 2 times speed, just so I'm familiar with the concepts and like the names of stuff. And then I'll start the quick start guide and just start coding on it. What shortcuts are you using to code faster? I think I have some videos about my VS Code shortcuts, but the most important one is Command P. That's like fuzzy file search. You can search your project for any file based on name. So if you know the name of the file or the directory or the path you're looking for, Command P, profile, there. Let's say I wanted to go to the tailwind config, tailwind, there. That's like by far the most important shortcut. There's a lot of other ones that are for like actually like editing stuff on the page, like Command Shift F to do a complete project find and search. Command D is nice to just highlight stuff by tokens. F2 is really good for refactoring. So like, let's say I didn't want to call this my action. I wanted to call it super my action. Like that'll just refactor all your code in that file to rename stuff. If you want to get really good at coding, learn how to code without having anything shown. Like if I want to say code tabs. If you learn how to code like this, where you have VS Code editor, where you literally have no tabs at the top, just shows the name of the file, that's it. And then you have no sidebar. Kind of like basically using Vim or NeoVim. Like that's one of the best ways to like really become proficient, because like you are forcing yourself to learn how to navigate your code base just by simply remembering names of files. And then also like you can go to specific lines, like 60, I want to go to line 45 or 50. I think you can also do like an @ symbol and you can search your entire project for certain things. Like there's an @ symbol and there's a shift symbol. So is @ the one if I want to say like on submit? And there's something else for like searching the entire project for function. Don't remember how that is. Submit. So like if I wanted to find through my entire project a particular thing, not @ symbol, it's something else, isn't it? Obviously I don't use this command, so maybe it's not as important as, oh, that's what it is. It's hashtag. It's hashtag. And this will tell you like where all certain functions are defined. So if like you need to find a particular function, right? You guys do this, it'll take you to it. But I like my tabs. I'm gonna add those back. Quick little overview. I think I have a video that kind of goes more into depth about shortcuts and stuff. Can you check taxonomy from Shadcn? Oh, yeah, okay, I'll check that out. No, server actions are not prime time. They're still an alpha feature from what I know. So it's cool to like understand what they do and how to use them, but I would not ship something to production using them. How do you feel about criticism of React as too slow or overly complex? I I don't know. I've played around with Vue. I've played around with Next. I've kind of played around with Svelte and Solid. Every framework has like their own leaky abstraction that you have to basically understand. Like they all have their own gotchas. Like Vue uses a lot of refs, and you end up passing like refs around, and you really have to understand how JavaScript refs work. Like in Solid, I think if you like destructure a property on accident, you can completely break the connection between your components. So like they all have their own complexity. React has its own complexity, obviously, but I do kind of like the fact that like it tries to make quote unquote pure functional components. But I mean, there's the leaky abstraction with React is how state works and how re-rendering works, which kind of sucks. But like signals have their own little issues, in my opinion. I have not played around with NX. Do you have any advice for new programmers? Yeah, I mean, just keep on coding. That's probably the best advice I can give you. Just keep on trying. Don't get discouraged if you spend 8 hours trying to figure out a bug. When I first started coding, I remember spending like literally days trying to fix a small bug. Take breaks, come back to the problem fresh, and sometimes you'll fix bugs and overcome hurdles much faster. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Don't do tutorial videos. I mean, some people need tutorial videos. Some people need courses. And for me personally, if you're a beginner, like if you were to, the first thing you do is load up Next.js and start reading through this, I bet you within 5 seconds, they're going to say a key term that you've never seen before. Right? For example, like WSL. I have, what is that, Windows Server Language or something? I don't know. I've never seen this. You might not even know what Linux is. If you're brand new to coding, you're going to read through these docs and you're going to get overwhelmed. I do think having courses and tutorials on YouTube can help hold your hand and just kind of expose you to the terminology. Like they say terminal. Like what if you don't even know what a terminal is? Well, then you have to basically decide to not even like try to learn next because you just don't know enough, right? A lot of these docs are written for other developers who have been in the game for a while. So like when we see this, our mind automatically says, okay, this is simple. But if you don't know what a terminal is, you never really use a terminal. You never really use like npm installing. It can just be overwhelming, I guess. Hey, thank you for the follow, Rosenbrock. But yeah, I think if you're watching like tutorial hell is a good point. If you keep watching tutorials over and over and over again and you can't actually sit down and build anything for yourself, then that's when you need to actually just sit down and try to build stuff. Yeah, DOS modding, take a walk between bugs. There's so many times where like I'll take a break. I'll take a 30-minute break, I'll come back and I'll fix a bug within like 2 seconds. Or I'll be like, you know, eating lunch and then like the solution will come to my head for something. So not staring at a computer gives you a new perspective on like fixing issues. How to prepare for the first interview? I don't know. I haven't done an interview in so long. I think it's just being confident with what you know, and also like know when to admit you don't know stuff. But I think if you can like find someone to practice talking code with, I think that's probably a good way. Like for example, make YouTube videos where you do like walkthroughs of your project, because a lot of times during an interview, they're going to ask you, okay, explain to me something that you recently built that you enjoy doing. And if it looks like you're just like struggling to find like enthusiasm about talking about that project or something, like you want to at least have some practice like speaking about stuff. YouTube tutorials gave me such a huge step up in my early career. Just don't use them exclusively. Yeah, it's like riding a bike, right? Like you can have someone show you how to ride a bike, but at some point you actually have to ride the bike for yourself. You have to code for yourself. What was your first dev or gig job? I think my first legit job was like back in college, and I was doing ASP.NET pages, which is kind of like PHP. but it's just, you know, they'd ask me to like fix a bug that's on some page or try to add a new feature to some page. I feel like I didn't know what I was doing on that team, and I ended up quitting after a couple of months because it was like a summertime thing. Yeah, I think that was my first gig. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap this up. I have been coding live for like an hour, 38 minutes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed me watching. Can't speak English. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me to learn a little bit about Shadcn UI, and then we talked about some server actions a little bit. I kind of wanted to dive more into like layouts and suspense and the errors and the loading things. Maybe I'll do that in my own spare time, but like I know there's a way to like show loader and you can have like a loading page or something, but anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna wrap this stream up. What's my Twitch? It is why are my comments deleting? Are you pasting links? If you're pasting links, they're gonna delete your comments. Do you recommend Code Academy? Yeah, I don't know. I think any of those things are gonna be good. Code Academy, Free Code Camp, like I'll just pick one and make sure you follow through and finish it. Like just doing a bunch of different ones aren't gonna really help you. Just make sure you finish one. All right, cool, y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna drop. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Good luck on your coding endeavors, and have a good day.